My God, I hate drugs.
The stories making headlines. A senator says President Duterte will disclose names of so-called ninja cops or policemen involved in illegal drug trade within the week. A third case of maltreatment at the Philippine Military Academy. The Armed Forces spokesman says the cadet is now confined at the military hospital in Metro Manila. Another cadet confined at a military hospital for suspected signs of maltreatment. Based on a transcript interview sent to reporters, AFP spokesperson Brigadier General Edgard Arevalo says a third cadet arrived at Victoriano Luna Hospital in Quezon City yesterday. Arevalo says the cadet has been complaining of stomach ache. He adds markings of possible maltreatment were found as the cadet remains ambulant. No word yet if this case is related to the hazing death of Darwin Dormitorio. Earlier, the Armed Forces revealed 2 classmates of Dormitorio also suffered from what it calls suspected maltreatment and are now in stable condition. Arevalo says an investigation into the cases are ongoing. Dormitorio died on September 18th after he was admitted to the hospital for a stomach ache. Authorities later ruled that he succumbed to a strong blow. Heads roll at the Philippine Military Academy as authorities wrap up their administrative investigation into the death of 4th class cadet Darwin Dormitorio. Top Academy officials announced that 4 senior cadets involved in the hazing of Dormitorio will be expelled from the premier military school. They are Cadets 3rd Class Shalimar Imperial and Feliz Lumbag, who had direct participation in the hazing. The Academy also expelled Cadet 1st Class Axel Ray Sanupao for encouraging the so-called maltreatment and Dormitorio Squad Leader 2nd Class Nico El Termil for command responsibility. Dormitorio's 2 other officers, Platoon Leader Cadet 1st Class Christian Correa and Company Commander 1st Class Albert Lucas, face a 1-year suspension. Another 1st class cadet, Irvin Sayud, received a lighter punishment. The PMA also relieved 2 tactical officers and 2 officials of the PMA hospital pending the investigation.
That it is administrative investigation. The criminal investigation is being handled now by the PNP. So let me go again. This is the result of our findings. Indeed, there was maltreatment committed. And let me proceed to the sanctions given to the cadets.
The hazing death of a 20-year-old cadet leading to the resignation of Philippine Military Academy officials. In a briefing in Baguio City, PMA Superintendent Lieutenant General Ronnie Evangelista said he has submitted his resignation to outgoing Armed Forces Chief General Benjamin Madrigal this morning. His resignation comes as the Academy wrapped up its investigation on the case of Cadet 4th Class Darwin Dormitorio.
I told you before that I would have come down in the media to vital. So I think all the administrative and criminal procedures are done already. And I feel, being the one responsible as the head of the superintendent, that I think this is now the right time that I have to step down to pave way for further investigation in these things. So nobody actually pressure me if you are looking at it on that aspect for me to resign. I think it is by virtue of command responsibility. It's by virtue of command responsibility. So me, together with the commandant of cadets, will step down.
Brigadier General Bartolome Vicente Bacaro also quit as Commandant of Cadets. The military says the resignations of Evangelista and Bacaro have been accepted. Speaking to CNN Philippines, Evangelista says he resigned by virtue of command responsibility.
We did practically everything, but accident happened, and this is an isolated one. But whatever the reason is, may namatay talaga, and somehow really I failed.
Meanwhile, Bacaro says their resignations are not tantamount to an admission of shortcomings, but was done to save the organization. Malacanang praises the resignation of two PMA officials. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo said this development is the right step towards, quote, upholding the integrity of the PMA as the country's premier military institution and recognize the same as a form of genuine delicadeza on the part of Evangelista. Evangelista earlier said only the president can ask him to vacate his post. This after Panelo questioned his leadership. Panelo said Evangelista should have known hazing still persists in the Philippine Military Academy. The Department of National Defense also saying Evangelista and Bacaro showed honor in relinquishing their posts. However, former PNP chief and now Senator Bato de la Rosa is saddened by Evangelista's resignation. De la Rosa, who's a PMA graduate, says he does not believe Evangelista was negligent.
Another good officer na wasted yung kanyang career because of that incident, very unfortunate incident. I know him very well. He's my mista, si General Ronnie Evangelista. Napakagaling na opisyal yan. I cannot say negligence. Dahil alam ko, kami mga kadete, magaling kami magtago ng sikreto. Kung itong mga civilian universities, merong hising, how much more yung military academy? Ha? Oh, imagine niyo, yung tinitira yung mga tao niya para maging warriors.
While authorities continue to find out more cases of maltreatment at the PMA, the Academy's former superintendent tells CNN Philippines the so-called honor system must be upheld.
I would propose to whoever would be in the leadership of PMA, although for now it takes effect already, na we can use now the honor system to carry out violations of maltreatment. Unlike kasi as practice, we cannot use the honor system to carry out violations of regulation. So ito siguro yung pinaka-drastic na change na mangyayari. I told the cadets, especially the first classmen, the upper classmen, that this is not a mere violation of regulation, but this is a violation of the law, the anti-hazing law. And therefore, we can use now the honor system to carry out violations of maltreatment.
At ito
Meaning, pag dinirect question ka, if you are maltreated, then the flips can directly answer that question. So wala nang quibbling, wala nang squealing. Diretso talaga.
Yeah. So when you say honor system, you're referring to we the cadets do not lie, cheat, or steal, nor
Yes.
tolerate among us those who
Yes.
do. You mentioned two words, sir, and we're going to wrap up in just a bit. You mentioned two words. These are PMA cadet lingo that civilians are not familiar with, quibbling and squealing. Ano po yun?
Ito yung parang nag-aalanganin ka sa magot. Eh, isa naman is nagsasabi ka kung sino yung mga nagmaltrato sa iyo. So, yun yung, ngayon, pag ikaw ay dinirect-question ka directly kung sino yung mga kumuha niyan, then the cadet or the fourth class man is honor-bound to tell the truth.
Or else all right kayo. Ganun po ba,
Yes,
sir?
otherwise he will be committing an honor violation.
Catch the full interview on the replay of Politics as usual tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. The police involved in alleged drug recycling will be named soon. Officials are saying that the National Police Chief is among those implicated. Our Chrissy de Matulac reports.
The Senate authorizes its two committees to publicize the names of policemen linked to illegal drug trade. By 17 votes with no objection, the Senate allows the Blue Ribbon and Justice Committees to publicize the names of police officers allegedly involved in drug recycling, or what is called agaw bato. The Senate decision was based on a motion by Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa to reveal the names mentioned by former Philippine National Police Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Chief and now Baguio Mayor Benjamin Magalong in executive session. De la Rosa says there's talk that PNP Chief General Oscar Albayalde is part of the list.
Marami na tayong narinig na mga haka-haka about sa kanyang involvement sa yung agaw bato scheme na sinasabi. So, to be fair with him, hindi man din siya basta-basta makasagot sa issue kung hindi klaro kung ano yung mga na-divulge doon sa sa executive session. So sabi ko, to be fair with him para maka-counter din siya, we have to, I move for the authorization for the body to authorize. Ang plenary, no, mag-authorize sa Committee on Blue Ribbon Committee na ma-disclose yung laman ng executive session.
De La Rosa says this could be an opportunity for Albayalde to clear his name. Senator Bongo says President Rodrigo Duterte already has a copy of the list and plans to reveal the names within the week.
Lalong-lalo na po, ito nabalitaan niyang mga ninja cops at sangkot dito sa pagre-recycle ng droga. At sabi niya kahapon sa akin na kailangan malaman ng publiko and soon I think he will personally announce to the public kung sino po yung mga sangkot na ito. At importante po, si Pangulo ang magsasabi. Sabi niya, karapatan po ng Pilipino malaman kung sino yung mga ninja cops.
While the go signal has been given to disclose the names of police officers, Majority Leader Mig Zubiri says it is still up to the Blue Ribbon and Justice Committees to act on it. Chrissy de Matulak, CNN Philippines.
President Duterte a no-show in the AFP change of command ceremony. This is the first time a commander-in-chief skipped the event since the Arroyo administration. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana represented the president. Malacanang is quick to say this does not mean that the president is belittling the activity. His spokesman says Mr. Duterte has a mild fever, likely due to his punishing schedule over the past few days.
Umakit ng konti. Konting-konti lang. Rather than risk himself to aggravating it, di mas magandang magpahinga. Like a normal mortal, he is subject to fatigue and everything.
Lieutenant General Noel Clement has taken over as the new AFP Chief of Staff, replacing General Benjamin Madrigal, who had just retired. The President's marching orders to Clement: just do your job. The health experts warn the poliovirus tends to thrive more in places with poor sanitation and hygiene. But some residents in Baseco compound in Manila still not wary that they are prone to the virus.
Mario Mahayag resides in Baseco for 32 years now. Nothing much has changed aside from more trash surrounding his house. Despite the clutter, children play freely out in the open.
Amid buildings rising left and right, there's still this part of the urban community where hundreds of families live by the riverside and literally on top of trash. And if you look around me, there's all sort of garbage, from plastic, food to human waste. They're all here. And this all boils down to poor sanitation. Health authorities have already warned that residents who are people exposed to poor sanitation and who have bad hygiene are more exposed to the risk of the polio virus.
Poor hygiene. Since we've discussed a while ago that this is a person-to-person and fecal-oral, so if you're parang using yung mga contaminated food, water, o kaya yung mga sa stream, sa river lang kumukuha, tapos contaminated siya with the polio virus from somebody else, then you can contract the disease. So hygiene talaga.
Mahayag recently built a makeshift comfort room. But just the same, the waste that goes in goes straight into the water. But Mahayag, whose youngest grandchild is 5 months old, is not bothered by the recent news about polio.
Kung may polio noong araw, ubos kami dito kay puros ta ito dito sa dumi noong araw nung wala pang kalinisan. Ubos kami dito kasi yung mga bata na yan, dito lumaki yan. May mga galos pa yung hindi na kami kinakabahan dito.
Recent cases of polio virus are of the type 2 strain or the vaccine-derived polio.
Because it can lead to neurologic symptoms din, actually. And yung type 2 yung mas mataas lang yung chance. Kung siya lang yung mas matapang, mas potent, mas virulent.
Infectious disease doctor Andy Miontan says all types of polio virus can lead to neurological problems if not prevented.
So kung pumunta siya sa muscles that will control our respiration, yung mga muscles sa paghinga, then you'll have respiratory depression, hindi ka makahinga, then you'll die of that. And sadly, there's no cure actually for polio.
While children 5 years old and below have higher exposure to the virus, Tan says some adults may also contract it.
You are more than 5 years old, but if you think that you are ingesting those unsanitary food and water, you can still have an equal chance as those children to have this kind of infection. Possible pa din.
And the solutions to stop the virus are vaccination, good sanitation, and hygiene.
Nag-toilet, hindi properly nag-wash ng hands, poor hand hygiene, then na-ingest or you handle the food, yung ibang tao pwedeng mahawa din. Mas siya sasabi natin airborne. Usually it has to be through ingestion. Nakakain talaga.
Tan says both children and adults can get booster shots for polio if they're unsure of their immunization records. But the health department says its priority for free polio vaccines are children ages 5 and below. Trisha Terada, CNN, Philippines.
A vaccine expert says authorities have been lax in monitoring the polio virus. The executive director of the Philippine Foundation for Vaccination believes this is the reason behind the reemergence of the infectious disease. Dr. Salvacion Gatchalian highlights the importance of creating immunization surveillance units. They will continuously collect and analyze disease-related data. In the meantime, health officials admit they face challenges in regaining public confidence in vaccines.
Vaccination it's not just vaccines, it's also surveillance. So actually, I don't know what happened. Maybe part is that our surveillance has been a little bit lax on polio. So that's why, all of a sudden we have 2 cases.
And if the communication lines are not well established and misconceptions prevail, it becomes really a big barrier for us to penetrate those population groups.
The second phase of the government's proposed tax reform program has been pitting key economic agencies against each other. The Senate began hearing both sides on the Corporate Income Tax and Incentive Rationalization Act, or CITIRA. The controversial bill cuts corporate taxes from 30 to 20% over 10 years and provides incentives only to deserving foreign companies in economic zones.
And it is important that in order to attract the investments, we really just allow more investments to come in and make them produce here rather than produce abroad and export back to us. So that's the basic reason why we just have to make our incentives really with no bias on nationality and exports.
Philippine Economic Zone Authority Director General Charito Plaza is opposing the measure. She insists changing incentives in the middle of the game will turn off foreign investors. She warns they will pull out of the country and hundreds of thousands of jobs in 400 eco-zones will be lost. Some foreign business chambers and industry groups agree.
CITIRA, Your Honors, aims to rationalize tax incentives to companies and investors will best apply to domestic enterprises, not to export-oriented industries.
Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez admits there will be loss of jobs, but says this will be minimized over a 10-year sunset period. Senate Ways and Means Committee Chair Pia Cayetano says things have to change for the good of many.
Some industries will die. I'm not talking about a particular industry here, but that's life. There are certain industries that have a natural span, right?
Cayetano says the bill has a long way to go in the Senate before it becomes law. For starters, 3 technical working group sessions is scheduled to iron out the differences on the provisions of the bill. Rex Remitio, CNN, Philippines.